What's going on, folks? It's your boy again, back in the building. Dr. Sean Thomas here, episode 61 of the Be More Today show. We are back in the building. And folks, it is a good time of the year. The summer is here. Well, almost here, right? The weather is getting nice, and the Knicks just won a playoff game. Folks, I can't tell you how excited I am for that. But before we talk about any of those things, I've got the biggest Knicks fan in the world on the show today. But as you guys know, Be More Today is looking at everything, right? We focus on everything just being forward. Ordinary people, extraordinary things. And our whole premise for this show is to highlight great things that people are doing around the world, in your neighborhood, around the world in general. And it's been fun doing that. Right now, the show is heard in 35 countries, and it's trending and growing dramatically. So I thank you all for your love and support. It's been a labor of love, as I always say, but we're blessed every single time you put a show out there, and every single time someone buys a book or listens to our podcast or watch the workout online. We appreciate you. So if you follow us on YouTube, like us, subscribe. On Instagram, like us, subscribe. Facebook, same thing. Twitter, same thing. And let's just keep putting good content out there for people just to stay active and to enjoy life for what it is. My quote for today is very, very simple. It says, to maintain your balance in the storm, you must first fix your gaze. And I'm relating this to my Knicks fans out there because, you know, I'm a Knicks fan as well. And we've been going through a lot of stuff in New York, right? Brooklyn Nets are that team that's been going out there, and they have everybody on their squad, right? They got everybody, probably the greatest lineup ever. But the Knicks last night won their first playoff game in years. And if you watched the Garden last night, it was electric. You wouldn't even have thought that people were in a pandemic anymore. That place was packed with people, and it was insane to see the grit and the energy and the determination that this team has had to get to this point. And if you're a Knicks fan and you're from New York, we've been through some storms when it comes to winning. If you follow Spike at all, you've always seen him in the front. No matter what's going on, still cheering, still hype, still live, no matter what's going on, fixing his gaze on the future of what basketball could be. So are we doing a championship this year? Who knows, right? That's not even really what we're talking about. We're just talking about the fact that we can get through a storm and get to a win. And people have been going through that in their own personal lives as well. So whether you're a Knicks fan going through the basketball storm of trying to get to a better place, or in your personal life, recognize that whatever you're trying to go through, you got to fix your eyes on a certain goal. And if you do that long enough, then you will truly at some point in time see a victory. And my guest on the show right now is not just the biggest Knicks fan in the world, but he's also one of the biggest music fans in the world. And his name is Alex Damashek. Now, listen, folks, I know music. I love music, but this guy right here is music. He is the culture, right? We always say, do it for the culture, for the culture. He is doing it for the culture. He is a live music promoter and event producer with over 12 years of experience curating concerts, nightlife, and impactful cultural activities. Now, as a founder of Move Forward Music, a Brooklyn-based concert company, Alex has produced and debuted New York shows for artists like Kendrick Lamar, Juice WRLD, DaBaby, Doja Cat, and storied music venues like Webster's Hall and SOBs. More recently, he has been live streaming virtual concerts on Twitch, where he has an exclusive deal with the platform to produce music content. He's also my boy. He's my best friend's boy. I went to this guy's wedding. We played basketball together in the Urban League. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pets included, please welcome to the stage the biggest Knicks fan alive, Alex Damashek. Brody, what's going on?
Hey, man, it's the birds are chirping, the sun is shining, and Trey Young is balding. And New York Knicks won a basketball game. That's all I can say. It's a beautiful day to be a Knicks fan. And listen, the world is opening up little by little. It's a great day to be a human being. I'm in a very positive mood. You caught me in a good headspace, man.
Yes, sir.
Been waiting for this day for a long time.
I said, let me make sure I can schedule this show around a potential Knick win. And it just happened to go down that way. So well done. Yeah, well done. Listen, Alex, I love what you do. Clearly your wife is my girl, so I love her to death. And we love Nico to death. I've had the privilege of seeing your journey with Monica and with your son, and even with the stuff you've been doing. I've been to a venue or two of yours in the past, and I just love the stuff that you've been doing when it comes to music. I love the fact.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
An old school cat who recognizes the old and the new and just continues to bring things to life whether it's the A-liner or the A-lister or, or not. And I have so many questions for you about, how you got there. And my first one for you is, I don't know a lot of music promoters, right? I know a lot of people who they are agents who represent certain people, but I don't know a lot of people who actually promote music. And I'm so curious about how you got into doing this, because it's not one of the streamlined things that people, usually get into as a career or profession. So what does a music promoter do, and how did you get into this this field?
Well, essentially, we produce concerts. So I think, a lot of people have gone to a concert. Everyone loves going to see live music. And people don't think about all the different pieces and the moving parts that have to come together in order for that artist to be on that stage in that city, at that time performing for all those people. So there's a lot of logistics on both sides, both from the artist representative side and from the venue and the production side. So I'm on the production and promotion side. And essentially we work with, I'm the go-between between the artist and the venues. We contract the artist to perform. We rent the venue space out. And, we basically produce and stage the entire production from reaching out to the artist to contract them to perform, to secure the deal, to get them on that date and that time, to find the venue, always the right venue, the right room to fit the vibe, on the date when the artist is touring, which is usually a pretty small window. So you got to, do some, moving around to get on the calendar to get the artist in there at the right time. Then we put the show on sale, promote it, market it through social media, through our email list, all the way till the day of the show. We're there making sure that all the equipment is in place. The artist has the right backline, the right gear, that the fans are able to get in seamlessly, just, overall ensuring that the entire experience is good, both from the artist side and from the fan side. And then, the ultimate payoff is at the end of all that, being in the room, hopefully it's a sold out room. And we're getting back to this time, hopefully, where it's a sold out room and people are packed elbow to elbow together and everyone's reacting to that song or that note that the artist is hitting at the same time. And I think that's the real magic of live music that this past year and a half with COVID has really shown us, like, that we're missing, is that, emotional connection of being in the same room with a stranger, but you're hearing the same music at the same time and you're feeling the bass in your feet and you're singing along to it together. And there's that instant connection that I think is really hard to duplicate in almost any other setting. So that's what I've always loved about it. And that's sort of the broad overview of what we do.
That is extensive and crazy, because, just thinking about what we went through, you mentioned people getting back to that. I know during COVID-19, you and I connected a little bit talking about possibly being on the show. And you said something to me that I remember. You said, it was hard. It's hard right now because you weren't doing what you were doing. There were no concerts being held. It was really hard to connect with certain groups and even get people to do anything. It was shut down. And now that we're coming out of that, seeing light with platforms opening up and shows opening up, even on Broadway and other venues, things are coming back to life. What were you doing during that time? We had the quote earlier about keeping your balance during the storm. That was definitely a storm for a lot of businesses, right? And especially for yours, because yours is so connected to people being in the room and people being able to experience something together. So what was going through your mind, for one, during that time, and how have you taken the steps now to get back to what you love doing now that things are opening up?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, well, first, to kind of go back a little bit to your original question about how I got into it, I think being a concert promoter, it is sort of a non-traditional path, even within the music industry, but it's also one that allows for an independent hustle to really, like, take center stage. And as an entrepreneur, somebody who, like, I always wanted to work for myself. And as soon as I saw that window as an opportunity, something that I could do, I really dove into it. So everything, it was 10 years building, getting to 2020. 2019 was the best year that I had as a business. 2020 was starting off great. Everything was, we're really sort of on full throttle. And it was like a light switch, man. It was like, we started hearing rumblings about COVID-19 in February. And I would hear from like an agent who, my artist had a trip to China, but they canceled it because of COVID-19. But it still felt like something that was, so far away at that point. And then 3 weeks later, South by Southwest was getting canceled. And a week after that, the whole, the whole world was shut down basically. And, our income went from steady and, like I said, we were having one of the best quarters we'd have to non-existent. So, we literally, if you look at, if it's a chart, it's not like a downward slope. It's like a 90-degree angle, like straight up $0 in revenue from April to basically the second and third quarter of 2020. So it was a really dark time. It was super scary. And, in the very beginning, it sort of felt like, oh, maybe this will be a few months, and then we'll get back to it. No, I think nobody had any idea of the scale or the length of the lockdowns, everything was going to take. So the worst time was like about around this time last year, May, June, when it really felt like we're in here for the long haul. And I just didn't know how the venues were even going to survive, because in a regular time, running a music venue is a really low margin business. And I don't own my own venue. I'm a promoter. So I work with all the independent venues as partners. But I'm very familiar with the sort of struggles that they face just on a day-to-day basis, keeping up with all their bills and expenses and everything. So it was inconceivable to me that these venues could stay closed for, 6 weeks, let alone 6 months, let alone 18 months. So I didn't really even have a sense of what industry we would be coming back to, if we were coming back at all. So, but also at the same time, I mean, everybody went into immediate survival mode, right? It wasn't like really a lot of time to think about the future, because nobody knew what the future was going to look like. So, we have a 3-year-old, my son, Nico. He was 2 at the time. And my wife, Monica, was working full-time, still working from home. So I pretty much jumped into daddy daycare, mode, just full-time, taking care of my son, which was, one of the hardest jobs I've ever had, but also, beyond the most fulfilling. I mean, it was an incredible time looking back on it, just hanging out with him every day, going to the beach and, hanging out in the backyard and, just soaking that up, being able to spend those minutes with him that normally I would have been working, or focused on something when, in the grand scheme of things, not nearly as important as that. So to me, that was a real blessing. And, I feel super fortunate for that. Luckily, my whole family, we were pretty quarantined in, but we made it through the whole COVID without catching it, in good health. And I think a lot of people, but especially in the music industry where it's really fast paced and it's a lot of always on the go, always thinking ahead, always, under pressure, it ended up being sort of just a reprieve that everybody kind of needed to just take a step back and like try to enjoy some things in life, and be more focused on yourself. So, started trying to eat better, exercise more, spend more time with the family and value that as much as possible. And, things just kept trying to push forward day by day. That was the motto of 2020, day by day. Right.
Absolutely.
And, things really did sort of work out. And, obviously a lot of bad, really sad and depressing things happened last year, but overall, I feel like we're in a good place now. The concert industry is actually relatively healthy. And I think things got so bad in the economy overall that it wasn't like landlords were trying to push venues out necessarily, because, there wasn't really anywhere else to go. So a lot more of the venues survived than I thought. And then the government actually passed the Save Our Stages Act, which is, or it's called the Shutter Venue Operators Grant now, but it's a bill that's intended to help small venues and promoters. Nobody's gotten their money yet. Of course, it's a mess because it's distributed by the government, but it is law. So we're hoping everybody gets the help that they need and the industry comes back. And just overall, like I said, I think even across industries, it was nice, step back from that just daily grind. So that's Earth.
Awesome. So now you're back, right? Move Forward Music is up and running. And you're doing so many great things now. So talk to me about what makes Move Forward Music different than any other promoter, all right? And talk to me about who makes up your team.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, so initially when I launched Move Forward Music, my motto has always been just like, got to keep pushing forward, keep moving forward. Whether you take a loss or you have a celebrating a big win, don't spend too much time dwelling on what's already happened. You got to take what happened in the past and let it inform your next step. But you got to just keep taking that next step. Otherwise, you end up getting stagnant. So that's sort of the motto of the company, and I apply that to artists too in a creative sense. Like I try to focus on artists that are progressive and doing something that's pushing the culture forward. I want all my events to do that as well, and be real community based. Around in the early 2000s, I was we were kicking around trying to figure out how to really make the business work, and I just noticed that people weren't. There was a space in New York City in particular for a New Yorker as a promoter, especially in hip hop and R&B, to come in and serve that space in a way that really wasn't being done right. A lot of the being promoted is a tough gig. So it's you got to risk a lot of money. You don't make a lot of money, especially in the beginning. You could lose money doing shows if the show doesn't turn out, that doesn't sell, it doesn't turn out the way that you think it will. So it's hard for a lot of people to get in, especially in New York. So what I started to notice was a lot of the people that were working at venues and doing the show, the talent buying and promoting, they weren't from the city. They were, which is not to speak ill of anybody. I have great friends across all these venues that are not from New York, but I thought that was a kind of a shame that artists could be coming to this great city, this historic place, and not really be interacting with somebody who's from here that really has a feel for the culture and the vibe of New York. So I took that on as a mantle. I think that's my first differentiating factor. And I just really I love live music. I was describing to you before, like how I love that feeling of seeing people react to songs together and like come together. So it's always been something I've been passionate about. So we have built a reputation for being first on everybody. I don't do a lot of like big arena shows or even big theater, larger theater shows. We do a lot of small clubs, 250 capacity, 400 capacity, things like that. But we are known for getting everybody's first show. So when you come to New York City for the first time, I'm sort of the guy, and I take a lot of pride in being able to shepherd that experience for an artist, to their first time in New York. I take a lot of pride in making sure that it's going to go as well as it can go, and be a true New York experience. You know what I'm saying? It might be some pizza in the backstage, and it's going to be good pizza, But also in the pandemic, we were able to make a really effective pivot to digital. We did this exclusive partnership with Twitch to create live music content for them. So we've been fortunate in that respect too, to be able to stay. There was a good 6 months where we were totally dark and weren't doing any business at all. But in October, we launched a virtual music festival called Move Forward Fest, and then we've been live streaming artists since then, and we're gearing up to sort of do that again with a hybrid in-person live stream experience that we're going to do throughout the summer. So that's another in the 2020s, we'll see how the whole industry shakes out with live streaming and everything. But we have this incredible platform to be able to live stream these, those moments that I was telling you about, those first moments that artists are coming to New York in a small, intimate club. Now we're able to broadcast it around the world. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I love the pivot. I mean, a lot of people talk about they had to pivot during some point in time during this pandemic, and you pivoted in the right direction, clearly. Talk to me a little more about Twitch. I know a little bit about it, but I know that there's subscriptions involved somehow. So, and everything is moving more towards these subscriptions, digital, virtual platforms. So what is Twitch exactly? And how does that subscription model, if you guys are doing that model, work?
Well, Twitch started as a gaming platform primarily. So it's primarily set up as for people to live stream themselves playing video games for other people to watch and then chat with them about the gaming. That's sort of like, I'm not a huge gamer. I play a little NBA 2K or whatever, but I'm not, necessarily logging on to watch other people play, but it's a huge, huge market. And they built a massive business around it. They have millions of users. And, these guys who are the top gamers, man, they get paid like LeBron. They're like, they sign in $20 million contracts to exclusively game with the different, like there's Twitch, and then I think Amazon has a service, YouTube gaming, and like there's the audience is really, really for esports. That's what they call it. So Twitch was built around that, and the subscription model is sort of like a way for people to support their favorite gamers and get favorite streamers. Because it's, from there, it sort of expanded beyond streaming to different things. Like there's everything from, gaming to DJing to live music to like, I know there's a channel that a girl plays chess, and she's super successful and has a lot of subscribers just playing chess and giving like chess guidance and stuff like that. So that you can do anything on it. It's basically a really effective live broadcast platform that's easy to set up for a user. There's a little bit of technical know-how involved in it. It takes a little bit of learning for sure, but basically anybody can set up a channel and then broadcast themselves live doing whatever they're doing, whether it's gaming or like anything else, fishing, anything. There's all different kind of stuff on there. Even like, it's a great platform too. Just like, there's politicians on there too, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is like frequently on there giving talks and taking questions from the chat and stuff like that. So when the pandemic happened, all the DJs started to go online and try to do these, virtual DJ sets or like whatever, DJ from home. And it's Instagram was the first place, I'm sure you saw did D-Nice DJ sets, right? And all that. But Instagram has very stringent copyright law, like restrictions. So, it's all well and good if you're D-Nice and you could call up the, head of music partnerships at Instagram and get your stuff cleared. But for the average DJ, it was hard to DJ for more than 5 minutes without getting your stream cut. They would kick you offline. So a lot of the DJs started going over to Twitch, where they have copyright regulations too, but it's a little looser. The takedowns at least are a little looser to take someone down live while they're streaming live. So they started, the music community just started popping up there, and that's how, we ended up in a conversation with them, and they sort of tapped us to do the live, bring live music content onto the platform. And in terms of the subscription, it basically operates like there's tiers. It's a $5, $10, or $24 a month subscription. And it's really like, there's perks that every streamer could offer their own perks for it. Like the one that you always get is, no ads on the stream, but sometimes you could get physical merch for it. Or, there's some streamers that have a private Discord channel, which is a separate chat app. We can have private channels where people can go in and chat. You get access to that as you subscribe. But really, it's primarily as a way for people to support the creators of whatever they're watching. And Twitch has a great revenue share model where the money gets paid out monthly to the creators. So it's it's a sort of seamless way to like directly support the people that you're, the kind of creatives that you're watching and engaging with. And it's been a great platform. I think it's underutilized still in music and for musicians, but it's a great way to connect with fans and build community. And we've been enjoying it.
That's great. I'm learning more about that myself. Just trying to find other platforms to post content on. Twitch sounds like it's an amazing new platform to hop onto. And thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate it. Listen, I know
sure.
that a lot of artists. You work with so many people, right? The bios that you shared has so many big time names. How do you get in contact with them? Do they contact you? Do you reach out to them? How does that connection ever really become?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, part of keeping my position is reminding everybody that I'm here in a sense. So you got to like, stay ahead of what's hot, what's coming, and reach out and let people know you want to do the show. But also I've been doing this now for 12 years. So I've built my name and reputation is enough where we have a great relationships. Also, the relationships is the key thing, obviously, with all of this stuff, any business. But we have great relationships with the booking agencies and talent management and things where when the artist is coming, when they're ready to come to New York, we typically get the call. And it's really a lot about, just being able to work out the right deal and the right dates, like I was saying before, it's where we can line it up. So it's a little bit of both. I have to stay active. I keep young people, around me, or at least I'm always talking to young people and trying to find out what they're listening to. And when we're doing shows regularly, I always go to the shows. And part of it is to, make sure everything goes well. But I have people that can help with that. But for me, the most important thing, which I don't think a lot of people would think, ironically, the most important thing is just watching the crowd and seeing what people react to. And, I'm able to take cues from that and apply that to just when I go about listening to new music and stuff. Just I have a sort of composite idea of what people react to and like what's hot, what's going to make people excited. So it's really it's a mix, it's a mix of sort of always trying to like knowing what the next trend is going to be, but also keeping up great relationships and doing good work by a lot of people so that when the agent is looking for their first play in New York and they have to make sure that it's that it's a win and it sells out and it's going to be a great experience for the artist, that they come to me. So keeping that relationship up and keeping just the output consistent so that people see that they can trust us to do that, and then always delivering every time or as much as we can.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So you mentioned looking at the crowd and that being your gauge to see how things are going. Now that you're doing virtual concerts again and have this new platform on Twitch where you're also streaming, where you can't see the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you gauge those environments where you really can't see the people? You can engage with them, but you really can't see how they're responding and have that same temperament that you would use for the in-person concerts.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, Twitch has a great chat function, so that's you get to see a little bit of reaction, but it's not the same. It's nothing compared to what I'm talking about, because what I'm saying when I go to the shows, it's like just watching people's faces and seeing the emotion. You can't, you don't get that with the live stream, and there's no mincing words about it. I mean, I was slow to embrace live streaming because, it was a little frustrating right in the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of people outside the industry were like, "Oh, don't worry, the concert industry is going to be okay. They can live stream," like as if that was like just like a easy replacement, like Coke and Pepsi. It's like a totally different experience. I think live streaming is cool. I think it's sort of opened up a lane and created a new format for content for all different types of artists that like maybe aren't big enough to perform on SNL or do an NPR Tiny Desk. Now there's an avenue for artists to create, some like that type of performance content. And there's an appetite for fans to watch it. So I think that's cool, but it will never replace the actual feeling of being at a show. So really there is no replacement for it. I had to just rely super on my own like curation, my own ears, and all, like I said, that sort of composite idea that I've built up over the years of doing this and being able to go to shows and witness those reactions and stuff. It's really a lot more built on that, and like you're booking more based on like, well, it's interesting because initially I was booking a lot based on internet buzz and just sort of what felt like it was hot. But then as we got a little bit more into the programming, I started shifting and booking more onto what I felt was going to translate best in a live stream format. If someone's watching it through their phone with no crowd, what's that going to work? And we did a lot, probably like a little bit more R&B. The hip hop that we did, I tried to focus on stuff that had like really strong lyrical content, because obviously, like a lot of rappers they are more based on energy and vibe, and like that is not it's sort of lost in the live stream format. So I had to adjust a little bit, but it was tough in terms of that. I think I can't wait to get back to doing shows again in real life. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's funny. So a lot of people, you and I are from the same generation, but a lot of people who are older than us, talk about music today not being the same as how it used to be, right? Talking about how the people who you may hear on the radio or wherever streaming service you're using, it's just different, right? It's just different. And I think music is that thing where people can, either you like it or you hate it. Everyone's different in terms of that, because however you grow up and your culture and where you're from is all different. But since you're in this industry and you're surrounded by so many people, what are your thoughts on the current trends in music right now when it comes to hip hop and R&B? Being from New York, right? New York is like the main stage for hip hop, especially, Brooklyn, right? We're both from Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. We can say that. So it's very, very interesting to always get the perspective of people who are from and live in Brooklyn talking about music that's playing today compared to, the greats that we had back in the day, and maybe even who's going to come after us for this new generation of music. What are your thoughts on the music vibe right now, especially just not in Brooklyn, but around the world with hip hop and R&B in this day and age?
Yeah, I listen. I think it's great. I think we're in a great place. I think you have artists from around the world that respect one another and are connecting with each other in a way that probably wasn't happening 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think that there's incredible new artists in R&B and neo soul right now. That's amazing, super exciting. That's really the space that I've been loving for the last couple of years. Latin music has exploded on a global level, and people are starting to realize that it's more than just, traditional tropical and reggaeton, and there's all different shades in between. Afro beats is a global movement. You have artists from Africa, and there's a whole, the British expats that are, leading this scene. I think it's a really great place. And I say, like, music is always of the time that it's in. So, I mean, I find it funny. Our generation is you hear a lot of like, hip hop fans of the 90s, that really don't like what they hear in today's music, where they don't understand it. And that's why I think it's really more the latter. It's like, you don't understand it because you're not in the streets like you might have been, in the 90s. You're not at the club. You're not soaking this music up in the way that it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be absorbed. And I mean, I think it's like, every generation goes through that. So it's funny that we as in our generation think that like the buck stops with us and like we're right this time. But like literally in the 90s, you had dudes in the 80s saying, oh, this this is golden era hip hop. This isn't the true school hip hop. And then in the 80s, you had those parents saying like, oh, nah, like this is a funk and disco. Like, you don't know nothing about, you listen to the Grandmaster Flash, you don't know nothing about the Gap Band and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, this is generation to generation. Going back to Mozart, you know, he was playing too many notes and you know, people didn't understand what he was doing. So I think that music is always changing and it's always going to be different. And you know, literally go through the eras, man. Charlie Parker. Oh, now that's, you know, it's too crazy. Like, now he's a legend. So I think that you have to take that for what it is. And for me, it's always about looking what the youth are enjoying. You know, like what young people are into. It's so easy to say that young people are stupid or, you know, they're just misguided or whatever, you know, whatever terms you want to pick out that have literally been used for centuries since the beginning of time. You have older people saying young people don't know what's going on. And the truth is, like, maybe they don't in some ways, but what the youth is feeling now is going to be what pop culture is in 10 years. You know, like what people who are teenagers are driven by right now, that's going to influence the world 10 years from now. And that's just a fact. Like you can't escape it. So to say that one generation of music is better or worse, it's a wrong way to look at it. You have to try to find what is good about it. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to find what the kids are connecting to about the new music. And that's how you realize that it's actually good. It may not be good in the way that you understand what that means, but it is doing something for somebody on it's on an emotional level, and it's bringing mass groups of people together. So, you know, like in the 2000s, I was doing a weekly party at Webster Hall called House Party. And it was like 2,000 kids a week. It was Webster Hall it's sort of changed now because it got renovated, but it was a 4-story venue. So we had music going in all different floors. Each room had a slightly different format. And this was like 2014, 2015, 2016. And it was like the SoundCloud rap era, which I think was a very abrasive shift in the sound and like sort of sonic aesthetic of hip hop at the time. And there was a lot of pushback about mumble rap and a lot of that was true in a lot, objectively, if you so from the outside, but being able to see kids that were 18 to 22 in that period and being in that club every week and watching the reactions, that's where I really like started to believe in, like, you have to watch how people react to stuff because that's what we did, like Fetty Wap when he had a Trap Queen song and Ray Strummerd and these type of guys. It sounded so weird the first time you heard it. And then just watching people absorb it and react to it, I was like, oh, wow, I started to get it and actually started to really dig it. Now, that's not to say that it necessarily stands the test of time as classic music or anything, but like I said, music is of the time that it's in. And I think everything has a time and place. Right now, like I said, last 3 years, neo soul and R&B, I feel like it's been making a huge comeback. I think like a sort of a watershed moment was like the Solange Seat at the Table album. You had SZA, and then there's just so many amazing young artists that have come up sort of in the wake of that. We're already doing stuff, but have sort of rode that momentum. And there's a really great scene in neo soul and R&B and hip hop as well, has sort of shifted a little bit back into more lyricism. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that because, again, people were in the house, not turning up at the club, not feeling the energy of a more vibey type of rapper, and we're looking for something a little bit more heady that they could wrap their mind around. So everything is cyclical, and I think it just reflects what's going on in the time, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to look at it. And I'm excited for all the collaborations that have been going on with people from different generations still coming together and doing stuff. And I'm open to listening to all the new stuff too. A lot of my aides tell me, "You gotta listen to this. You gotta listen to this." And I'm like, I don't know, guys. But when I listen to it, I'm like, you know what? I see it. I see what's going on.
Yeah.
And, I'm really trying to not be like my parents were in terms of saying what you just said, but to really embrace everything that's going forward and to recognize that the trajectory is all about, the bigger picture, that we're going to be doing things based on time frames. And yeah, like you said, some are going to be classics for life. Like there's just some song that you hear that's going to be a song for ages. And there's some songs like, you know what, that's for a time. That's definitely
right.
For a time. But I do agree with the lyricism, like the lyrics for certain songs. I think that's what a lot of people were looking at, and just looking at, like you said, during this COVID-19 time, people using that time to really put some time and energy and passion and experience into those things. So I think that will bring a lot of people from different decades back to the neo souls and whoever else of this era. My mom actually was asking me, she's like, so where do you go to hear new music? Because where do you go? And I'm like, you know what, Mom, that's a good question. So what do you do when you talk about trying to hear new music and new songs? Just so I can let others know, where do you go when you want to hear new music from new artists? What's the best place to go to find that?
You mean like online or in real life?
Anywhere, online, real life, anywhere. Yeah.
I mean, so the online, like for me, it's like I always like, I get a lot through social media, and just the sort of network that I've curated for myself over the years. I have like a rule of three when you hear something from three different sources. That's when you know that there's something there, and then you can kind of dig in and see if that's like worth really investing in. But that's more from like the business side. In terms of like, finding new stuff. I mean, like I think you got to go to shows. I encourage everybody to like go see some live music. I mean, when you go to the show, in between, the acts, the DJs playing music, they're putting, you get finding out about new stuff, and then like you said, you get to see the live reaction. Like if people are like, if this is something that if people are digging, and that you should really follow up on. And then there's a lot of great playlists on Spotify. And Audio Mac that I like to follow. So yeah, you got to just do some digging. I don't think there's one place. I think it's everybody has to, like, there's so much out there, which I know gets very overwhelming for people. But if you just even just start with your Spotify, like go through some of the genre playlists and then do some exploring through there. One cool tip that I think on Spotify is you find an artist that you like. And you go in the About section, there's a little thing that says discovered on, and you can find playlists that artist was discovered on by other people, and then some, you can dig into those playlists, and you never know what you'll find. But I think there's, it's got to be open to it. There's a lot out there. So yeah, you got to just be open to hearing new stuff. I think that's the first thing. A lot of people are, once you hit, I read a study once that once you hit 33, your like capacity for absorbing new music degrades like exponentially from there in your life. Like you just want to listen to the stuff that you're familiar with. Like your brain has, or at that age, has absorbed as much music as it can, and it just wants to like stick with what it knows. So I think you got to fight through that and just be open to it, and try new stuff, try new sounds.
That's very interesting. Listen, Alex, Be More Today is my thing. It's my baby. I wrote this whole book about it, with a podcast about it, all kinds of stuff, right? And I've been asking everybody what that phrase means to them, what Be More Today means to them. So you are number 61 on this show, my friend. When you hear the phrase Be More Today, what does that mean to you?
I thought about this beforehand, and I think for me it means like being comfortable, being more comfortable with who you are and what you want in your life, and make strides to achieve those things. I think a lot of times we are stuck on this very sort of traditional linear idea of success that's tied to money and, professional accolades. And that's not always the most fulfilling thing for everybody. I think that I think that you have to find the things that really make you happy and try to shut out a lot of the expectations that the world and society puts on your back, and zero in on those things and go for that. Because to me, it's like, it may be a better career opportunity or more obvious relationship choice or whatever to do one thing. But if that might just, I think you got to question yourself sometimes and say, like, is this really what I want? Or is this what, society is telling me that I want? And I think, really identifying the things that make you tick and embracing that. And, everyone has their own idiosyncrasies and things of that nature. And just, going after those, like be more of yourself, that's why I have to be more of yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Listen, any final tips you want to share with up and coming promoters, anyone who's trying to do the same concept you're doing, or any artists who are trying to connect with you to be promoted or to be, showcased in one of your shows?
Artists, send me a DM on Instagram at MF Music, Move Forward Music. MF Music is the handle. In terms of people trying to get into concert promotion or any part of the music industry, the great part about it is you can hustle your way in. You don't need a certain degree. You don't need really anything other than just a real willingness to dive into it. And I would say that the first step, I'm a little biased, but the first step is go to some live shows, especially if you want to be a promoter. Like, start going to shows. And if you really want to, like, if you go to shows and you have that experience that I had, and you feel like, oh, I love live music, it's something I want to be a part of, just chat somebody up at the venue, like talk to, even if it's like a bartender or a security guard, you never know what kind of info they might have or whatever. Maybe someone's looking for an intern or something. And I think you got to just put yourself out there and show a willingness to hustle for it. Because that's one thing in the music industry everyone likes to see, is that someone's like really passionate and willing to work hard. And I'd say that it's never one big break. Everyone thinks that, there's this Hollywood story of, you meet one person and they take, whatever. I'm sure that happens sometimes, but I don't think that's something to bank on. It's really, you got to do it brick by brick. If you meet one person, they introduce you to another person, they give you an opportunity, you do good there, then you meet other people. It just goes piece by piece. And if you keep pushing, you'll break through, and you'll find something, and I think you'll be able to find your space. I mean, the quote that you said in the beginning reminded me of a quote that I read. I started a company in 2000, at the end of 2008, so it's right after Barack got elected the first time, and I read this quote that always stuck with me. He said, if you're walking down the right road, and I might have it exactly, but if you're walking down the right road and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. And that's something that I try to live by. It fits in with Move Forward Music and everything. And that's what I think. That's a great words to end on.
I love it. Alex, where can folks follow you or connect with you on social media or otherwise?
Yeah, social media, like it says, MF Music. On Facebook, it's Move Forward Music is one word, but on Twitter and Instagram, MF Music. Hit me up, send me a DM. I'm always happy to build with people. I like to try to help, point people in the right direction wherever I can. So I'm happy to connect. It's awesome. Been great talking to you, man. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you so much. Last question, Knicks, how far can they go in the playoffs? Let me get your 30-second synopsis. Let's go.
I think we could go game 5 or 6 in the second round. I think we're gonna take the Hawks. I think the Hawks series definitely goes to at least 6 games. I think we're gonna win, and I think we could go 5 games in the second round. That's my prediction.
All right, folks, you heard it here first. Alex Damashek, I appreciate you so much. Biggest Knicks fan, biggest music promoter. I appreciate you so much. And listen, my hashtag in life before Be More Today was always on the move. So I really appreciate Move Forward Music. We have the same mindset, same mentality. So I appreciate you.
Man?
Today, again, to maintain your balance in the storm, you must fix your gaze. Fix your gaze. You've done that. And I really appreciate all the work you're doing. And I just wish you the best moving forward.
Thank you, bro. It's all love.
Oh, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Folks, continue to follow us and Be More Today. We're everywhere. Our music, our podcasts, our workouts are on YouTube. We appreciate you guys so much. Any questions about trying to reach out to me or Alex, you can email me directly at drshawn@bemorettoday.com. And again, my boy T. Farrow has Words for Life podcast every single Wednesday. Folks, as always, have a good day, have a good night, have a great life, and continue to take your steps away to be the best version of you. We'll see you next week. Peace.